Hello once again, and welcome to Mid-Missouri Art News. Supported by many art enthusiasts throughout Mid-Missouri, coming to you from the capital city of Jefferson City, Missouri. I'm your host, Rick J., with two special guests today. Artist BarbTetley Anderson of Jefferson City, Missouri, and a member of and active volunteer for the 114-year-old Jefferson City Art Club, and artist Jerry Thompson of Harrisburg, Missouri, who will treat you with his interest in watercolor painting. Both play a very large role in the art scene of the state of Missouri. So welcome. I first want to turn to Miss BarbTetley Anderson of Jefferson City, Missouri, inviting her to the JCTV Missouri Art News. Barb, please tell us a little bit about you and those highlights of your life that basically describe BarbTetley Anderson.
Well, thank you for inviting me to be here. The highlights of my life, Jefferson City is my home. Pretty much born and raised here, went through the Jefferson City public school system, went to college at Missouri State University, then it was Southwest Missouri State, with the idea of getting my art degree. And after being in the art program for about a year, I decided to take a different avenue because I just wasn't sure what I was going to do with the art degree, so went into accounting. I got my Bachelor of Science in Accounting, and people often say that's kind of a mix of right brain, left brain, but both fields have complemented each other, so it's been good for me to do that. And worked at Missouri Power and Light for about 7 years, and then my husband's job transferred us to Hays, Kansas in 1983. We were there for 13 years. Then we moved to the Des Moines, Iowa area. And in 2015, decided it was time to just come back home. So we're very happy to be here. Excellent.
And so now you have family.
Would you family?
Like to
yes.
speak about them, say hi?
Yes. Husband of 41 years. We got 2 daughters and 2 wonderful son-in-laws. And I should say 2 wonderful daughters also. 2 son-in-laws and 4 grandsons.
So you're a grandmother on
yes.
top of everything
yes.
else. And now you're enjoying the time for art.
Yes.
Sounds like you was working both sides of the brains there, getting a good exercise, which probably has made you a well-rounded person.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. I know your art speaks for itself. Well, Miss Anderson, can you share with us basically when or how you was first inspired to become an artist? What can you remember in the past? And actually, what inspires you to continue your interest?
Many things. I think what first inspired me, and I think many artists will say this, is they can remember wanting to paint or draw as early childhood. Yes. And in high school here at Jefferson City Senior High, I took about every art class I could. And probably my first introduction to watercolor was with Mr. J. Bob Estes. And that was my first introduction to it. And then I would say what was a big turning point in my life is my husband and I went to visit his oldest sister and her husband in Indianapolis, and she was a very talented artist. Her name was Joanne Burkett Cardwell. She was also from Jefferson City. Went to visit her, and she knew that I loved watercolor, and I was talking with her about what she was using, and I had never seen tubes of watercolor before. I just had never knew they existed. Right. And I asked her what they were, and she said, well, what do you paint with? And I said, well, praying, you know, that's all I knew. And she said, we're going to the art store tomorrow. So that was my first introduction to what just turned into a love of watercolor. So
yes, excellent. Yeah. I can see where you would get an excellent start with those people inspiring you.
Yes.
And that's what the program is about. We're trying to inspire you to pick up that brush or what have you, because we're covering so many different avenues of the art world. So stay with us. Well, I guess I could ask what your favorite mediums are and subject matter when working on a project, but it sounds like we're centered in on watercolor. So
yes.
go ahead and explain what a little bit about that.
About the watercolor?
Yes.
I think just the transparency, the different techniques you can use with them. With a lot of people have said that they are afraid of watercolor because you can't control it. And you can. You know, there's just different techniques to, just don't give up trying them. They, different techniques.
Well, those are my exact words.
Really?
I can't control them.
Yeah.
So it has a technique like any other
Yes.
type of art medium. And you do such a great job, which we'll talk about in a moment. What are some of your favorite subject matter? What do you really concentrate on, or is it varied?
It's varied. I really enjoy flowers. I recently revisited a geranium painting that I painted many years ago, and I'm in the process of taking some paintings out of metal frames and getting more natural wood, more just different frames. And so it gives me a chance to pull a painting out of a frame and really look at it, and if it needs to be changed. So, you know, a good example of that particular painting is it kind of floated to me on the way it was framed and matted. It kind of floated, and just revisited it, add some lines to it, kind of made it a happier piece. So I think the viewers will probably see a before and after of how it was before and how it looks now. So just encourage artists to, you know, not give up on what they're working on. It comes in time. So
now I enjoy doing different types of subject matter. It can be from an animal on to loving to do clouds. Clouds and oil become so magic to me, and this freedom as far as moving the brush. So again, is there certain subject matter that you really enjoy more than others?
I enjoy the landscapes, the golf scenes. I've done several golf scenes, and old country scenes. My son-in-law took a picture of a fence somewhere in Missouri, is what he calls it, and he asked, someday to do a painting for him, and so that's also featured on your viewers will probably see that, and it's, scenes, flowers. I've done portrait work, so just any subject interests me. So.
Oh, super. Well, it's December 13th, 2017. We're in the holiday spirit, and I see, Barb, that you do have your likeness of a Santa Claus.
A little Santa Claus.
And
yes.
This has a story with it. Yes.
There is a small story behind it.
Bring it up a little higher, and we can. Okay. All right. And so you was published with this.
It's semi-published, yes. Yeah, a friend of mine in Kansas, we would get together and paint once a week. And it was always a race to see, around Christmas time, it was a race to see who could find the Better Homes and Garden Santa Claus publication. Yeah. And we would do get inspired from some of the things in that publication. And so a few years later, I painted this little Santa Claus and submitted when we lived in Des Moines with Meredith Corporation being right downtown Des Moines, and they're who published Better Homes and Gardens.
Yes, I see.
So I submitted a few of my Santa Claus paintings, wondering if they might be interested in their Santa Claus publication. And at the time I was rejected, they said that watercolor would be kind of a difficult subject to cover in a how-to magazine. But then a few years later, the editor for the crafts side of Better Homes and Garden contacted me and asked if I would be interested in converting the painting to a cross-stitch pattern.
This is the item
Yeah.
by your...
Yeah, and I think and there's, another view of it.
Okay, great, all right.
So, yeah.
And some of these images will be up on the program to get a closer view of them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those are so impressive, and to be published, that's always
It was kind of fun,
very,
And I
nice
thought
positive.
I just wanted to tell that story just to encourage artists that just, you can look at your art in different mediums and still shows up. So
Your art technique or style reminds me so much of some of the earlier paintings of the 1200, 1300 century paintings.
Well, take that as a
nice
compliment.
You have that flair in that. Well, do you have any projects now in process or at a venue that where our viewers could see them firsthand?
Well, I've been asked and honored to be the featured artist on the Jefferson City Art Club website, and part of that honor is being able to show some works at the Missouri Department of Motor Vehicles.
Yes.
That's right.
Now
on
you
Jefferson.
have one in process that I was very interested in. I believe it has a story behind it. It is of your father, is it?
Yes.
Fishing.
Yeah.
Now, so that is in process.
And I can. Yes.
Let's see.
and
let's
it's
bring
actually-
it in to your left a little bit. That's
Okay.
okay. And you want to share that with us?
Yeah, that's my brother took a photograph of my father fishing. I think it was down on Merrimack Springs or Merrimack River many, many years ago, and I always just it was a beautiful photograph, very misty, and so try to encourage artists. You can take your artistic license and change the composition, change the
Yes.
color up a bit, and so that's working on that.
Again,
So,
that is depictive of your style and your technique and your professionalism. It looks almost like you did use the spray bottle effect.
you can, and that's part, kind of getting to know your colors and what the properties of the different
Yes.
paints will do. This certain blue has kind of sedentary properties that it will catch onto
I
the
see,
paper,
catch
and you
onto
can get
the
that
tooth
look.
of the
Yeah.
paper
Yeah.
and hold. I see.
So it's always
Great.
good to know what the properties of your watercolors can do.
Yes, it's very nice. Very
Thank
nice.
you.
Now, Barbara, you spoke of being the featured artist on the Jefferson City Art Club website. How long have you been a member of the Jefferson City Art Club?
We moved here in 2015 and joined that first year, and I haven't had a lot of time to be real involved with them, but I do admire what they do for the community, and I can say many, many years ago, I just always looked forward to the sketch day at the high school, that the Jefferson
yes.
City Art Club would sponsor, so
Yes,
I feel like I've kind of come full circle, because
Yes.
what they did
so
for us then, and
You were part of that high school sketch day in the past.
And yes,
that continues. That will again be in 2018. Their programs, they really get started about February, so you can look for it, Jefferson City Art Club, and we'll be covering that here on the Mid-Missouri Art News also. Well, has the Jefferson City Art Club inspired you as an artist or person in any way other than, I guess, high school sketch day would be a
well,
good
that's
inspiration?
Of course, I always looked forward to that when junior high school, and then of course we've been away from Jefferson City for 30-some years, so I'm feeling like I'm just kind of getting back into the community and what they do. And
you're getting ready to get started again. I see. That's great. Well, being the featured artist, that is your schedule, I understand, for December 18th through January 28th, 2018. And it's a website you should take a look at. It's webmaster Cheryl Schweitzer, and Cheryl does a great job with that. So we look forward to you looking at that. For those interested in learning more about the Jefferson City Art Club, please go to their informative website, and that's at www.jeffersoncityartclub.com. art-missouri.com. Thank you. Well, Barb, do you have anything else you'd like to share with the viewers at this time?
Oh, caught me off guard there, let me think. I guess I could share one example of getting your name spread. I don't really promote myself on the internet, but you can see some of my work on Facebook at artwork by BarbTetley Anderson on Facebook. Yes. And I would just say one good start that I had when I lived in Kansas. A client of mine had asked me to contribute or donate a painting for the local private high school. And I just kind of thought about what would interest the people that would be attending this auction, and asked the private country club if I could take a few photos of golf scenes. And that ended up being a very good way to get my name out. And so just to encourage other artists out there to, you know.
Excellent. Thanks for the tip, the information. Well, Ms. Barb, on behalf of the Jefferson City Art Club, I want to thank you for sharing so much here on Mid-Missouri Art News. After the break, we meet a well-known artist, watercolor artist, Mr. Jerry Thompson, who will surely inspire you to look deeper into his technique and appealing works of art. Stay with us.
Where's your emergency?
Please, send help.
Tell me what happened?
I think he's dead. Please, he was shot.
Okay, what's going on right now?
I think he needs help. Send help.
Hello once again. This is Mid-Missouri Art News. I'm your host, Rick J. And today we're featuring Jerry Thompson of Harrisburg, Missouri, a well-known watercolor artist. Welcome, Mr. Jerry, Mr. Thompson.
Well, thanks, Rick.
Thank you. 15 minutes is not long enough time to share all the things that makes up your art world. I've taken an extensive look and very impressed. But we will try and cover the highlights of those experiences. And first, I just would like to ask you to share with our viewers a little bit about what makes up Mr. Jerry Thompson.
Well, I'm a native of Oklahoma.
I see.
And southern Oklahoma. I went to school in Midwest City, Oklahoma, right outside Oklahoma City, and my father was an aircraft mechanic there.
I see.
I went to Midwest City High School and to Oklahoma State University, where I met my future wife in 1964. We were married in '64, and almost immediately we moved to Connecticut. I worked in New York City for American Airlines facilities, architectural work.
I see.
And later back to Oklahoma, then to Dallas, Texas for 25 years. We decided we wanted to move to a town that had colleges, small town, and we found the town to be Columbia, Missouri. And it was a choice we made, and it was a good choice.
Yes.
And I have been painting with a group called the Columbia Palette, and we have been painting together for almost 18 years. With a group of 8 or 10 people every Wednesday morning.
And would you like to have a shout out? Say a shout out to some of those?
I could say to my wife, of course, who has supported me through all this period, and Ruth, and have two daughters, a daughter in Seattle and a daughter in Columbia, Missouri, who is a jewelry artist.
Excellent.
One has an art degree, the other an art history degree.
Super.
So they're interested in the arts.
And they're by name?
Stephanie is the younger one in in Columbia, and Tamara is the one in Seattle.
Well, excellent. A shout out to Tamara and Stephanie.
Tamara and Stephanie, yes.
Super, super. My extensive background in architecture, that no wonder you have a great background and a foundation, a backbone for what is happening with your art. It's so quite an experience just viewing them.
Well, thank you. Well, the watercolor comes from my education in college. Watercolor was a class, and there were other classes in art for architectural students. So it's a natural for me in that I've been interested in art since I was a child, but there was a particular professor there who inspired me as an artist. He was a watercolor artist.
And would you like to mention his name?
Well, he wouldn't be around to hear it, so.
Right, but family might.
Yes,
Still,
it was Professor Cunningham, and
Excellent.
he was a great watercolor artist as far as I was concerned. And we did architectural renderings in watercolor and ink. So.
Oh, wow. Now, going back to childhood, we always speak of our childhood, from writing on the bedroom walls on the farm, and from personally, I guess it started there, but did you have any childhood memories that inspired you at all?
Well, I remember one particular drawing on the wall of my grandmother and grandfather's house that was a drawing of a house, and you could see both the front of the house and the side of the house at the same time. And that was interesting to me, that you could see both at the same time, and it was not in perspective. So perspective has sort of been in my head for that length of time.
So that basically triggered your idea of perspective within an architectural drawing, that it just wasn't balanced. So
it just wasn't a perspective, and
Right.
I have been interested in perspective drawing since that time.
Oh, I can see it in your artwork too. I mean, everything is in perspective, and that's what we strive for. That's for sure. Well, that is super. That's quite a background. Thanks for sharing that. Well, can you describe some of your favorite completed projects? It seems like we all have a few favorites. I'm sure you surely have a few.
Well, I have a few. I have a list of a few that I would like to talk to you about.
Yes.
The first would be Bennett Spring, a trip that my wife and I took on a Memorial Day weekend, and as a plein air painting, I was sitting painting at the headwaters of the Bennett Spring creek or river. And that would be the one that the viewer would see at this time, I believe. And the second one that I would mention would be Deep Woods. It is a painting in blue primarily. It has some alizarin crimson in the painting as well, but it's a view through a deep tree. The view and the composition has a V shape made by the trees, and you see the light in between the trees.
So dealing with light again and perspective.
That's right.
I can only imagine. We'll see that on the screen.
That's right. It should be on the screen as well, I think.
Yes, right there.
The third one would be of my wife walking down the trail at our acreage north of Columbia in Harrisburg, and the trail she is walking on is covered with snow. The pasture is covered with snow, but it's melting off, and I call the painting Melting Off. So it is a very loosely painted painting trying to capture snow and grass at the same time.
So the composition elements within that painting alone has taken some time to establish, I guess we could say. I can only imagine.
Well, it was an interesting project. It was to be able to capture it like that. The fourth one would be Multnomah Falls, or a memory of Multnomah Falls. My wife and I were there in 2008 on the Columbia River Gorge, upriver from Portland, Oregon. And it shows a bridge, a walking bridge up in the falls area. And it's a very famous site, but it was my interpretation of it.
Right.
So it has two falls, one fall quite a ways up high, and it falls into a lake, and then down another fall, and they're beautiful falls, and the gorge is a beautiful.
Well, one can get lost in Jerry's paintings and bring himself or herself into those paintings and that atmosphere. That's what is so unique about Jerry's compositions, and again, his perspective, that it just draws you in. Well, you know, and you have another one you'd like to
Yes, the Multnomah Falls and a few others that I have done have been vacation paintings, and some are in other countries like Ireland, Germany, Austria, Switzerland. We've taken tours, and I've sketched and painted along the way, and that's fairly common for us. The last one was in Alaska this last July.
Very active.
Painting small sketches, ink and watercolor in that instance. The one that I would mention now would be Sedona. It is a mountain right outside of Sedona, and I call it Sedona Lucy. That's what they call the mountain,
Yes,
Lucy.
Familiar.
Yeah. The sixth one would be the Missouri River Harley Overlook, which is the Harley Park, and that's in Boonville, and it's a scenic overlook of the Missouri River looking north and the plains area right north of the Missouri River.
Excellent.
And that should be visible at this time. The next one would be Twin Lakes Creek, which was a park, Twin Lakes Park in Columbia, Missouri, and the Flat Branch Creek that runs through it.
Yes.
That particular painting has been printed and is visible at the Boone Hospital in Columbia, Missouri, as a 30-inch by 40-inch painting down in their main area,
So they will be able to view that.
corridor. Yeah, that would be available to see. The quarry is the next, and the quarry is a pool, a swimming pool, a natural swimming pool with about an 80-foot cliff right beside it. And that's in Columbia, Missouri, right in the middle of Columbia, and I didn't know it existed until this year. Wow. And I painted it in the fall of this year.
Now, you spoke of your Bennett Springs. Do you have any, I think I've seen your artwork when I'm visiting Macaulay's there. I think it's
The university?
Macaulay's by a gallery near Bennett Springs. About 2
No,
miles.
I don't think that would have been mine.
All right.
It may have been a better artist.
Okay. Well, Jerry, I look forward to you and others, in fact, 50 people now, being part of the Missouri Art News and the Runge Nature Conservation Center exhibition coming up in May and June of 2018. So I want everyone to put that on their calendar. That'll be for 2 months, and you're going to see a varied a number of artists, different types, mediums, and what have you, from sculpture to watercolor, naturally. Well, Jerry, we're about running out of time, so we'll begin to close. Do you have an email address that you'd like to share with our viewers where they can learn more about, or if they have any questions, any wanting tips?
Okay, good. Since my name is Jerry D. Thompson, it's jdthompson@socket.net.
Okay.
As in dog, J.D. Thompson at socket.net.
Okay.
The background that I have includes teaching watercolor and sketching, and I do watercolor and ink sketching in coffee shops, and I would encourage people to carry a sketchbook carry a sketchbook,
Great
start
idea.
sketching if they want to paint, because you need to be able to draw as well as paint.
And do you teach classes then?
I don't now, but I have been at the Columbia Art League as well as Osher Lifelong Learning Institute.
Well, Mr. Jerry Thompson, on behalf of the Jefferson City Art Club and JCTV, Mid-Missouri Art News, which is attempting to bring together all art lovers and enthusiasts in Missouri and surrounding areas through this program, I want to thank you so much for contributing to Mid-Missouri Art News and making a learning experience, an informational experience for us all. Thank you, Mr.
Well,
Thompson.
thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Well, next featured guest here on Mid-Missouri Art News are artist Carol Norton and sculptor Steve Gorman of Rolla, Missouri. The taping is scheduled for January 17th, so you can look for that in the month of January, first weeks of February. Next on Spotlight on the Arts, the Jefferson City Community Symphony Band Holiday Concert will be featured. And that concert is going to be held in 4 days. I'll be there to tape that, and then we'll edit it up to YouTube and to the JCTV scheduled programming. The first Spotlight on the Arts, actually with an artist of 2018, will feature photographer Dan Bernskater. So look for these upcoming special events here on JCTV that'll be coming your way. In the meantime, I want to thank our producer, JCTV producer Gloria Enlow and crew, and thank you, our viewers, for watching. Look for more Mid-Missouri Art News right here on JCTV. And don't forget, YouTube. I'm Rick J. saying, see you next time.